we can start with you, CJ, and just do a little introduction about who you are. Let us know what you do, who you are in FitTRAC.
I'm CJ. I'm the owner of FitTRAC, and my principal responsibilities are I'm the general manager. I'm in charge of the marketing and the finance. So a lot of the stuff behind the scenes.
My name is Darren Moore, also known as Coach Darren. I am the manager of the sales team here at FitTRAC. So similar to CJ, I do a lot of things that are sort of behind the scenes, trying to get as many folks involved with FitTRAC as possible to help them become happier, healthier, and stronger. Uh, I am still Coach Darren though, and so that also means that I am in front of the members often and trying to coach them as well personally.
My name is Coach Ken. I am the training team lead. I do a lot of coaching in the Menlo Park facility as well. I'm also doing the operations. I do a lot of the planning for the events and also the billing. So if you get emails from me, it's from the billing stuff.
All right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead start off with this first question for CJ. Why did you start FitTRAC, and how has it evolved over time?
I played football in college, and so I was always going back to my football career, particularly in college. I was never the best athlete. I was really kind of just hustle, scrap my way onto the field, contribute to the team any way I could. So through that, I fell in love with strength and conditioning because it was really a way to maximize the potential I had. I wasn't as talented as a lot of my teammates at that level, but I wanted to get every ounce of talent out of my body that I could, and that was through strength and conditioning. And so I graduated with a degree in engineering, but I knew I didn't want to work a desk job. Like I did some internships, and I knew that wasn't for me. I also knew that I'm not very good at working for people. And so that there's just I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point, and so I decided, hey, I don't really want to work for people. I want to do something, an active job. Let me try something in fitness. Let me be an entrepreneur. And the thing about being an entrepreneur, the other thing I really like about it is like it's a meritocracy. Like another option I consider was going into coaching, like strength and conditioning or coaching football. But those are really like, there's a good old boys network. Like you have to know somebody who has a coaching job that can hook you up. And like, I'm not really a big fan of that. Like, it's like if I do well, I want to be able to reap the rewards of doing well. So started FitTRAC at the time. We kind of had three stages of the companies, and it kind of matches with when we changed our name each time. So we started as D1 Performance Science. And I'll tell you a story later about why that name changed. So I'll leave a little suspense here. But we started as D1 Performance Science. We started running speed camps. And so speed camps our focus was really to help athletes fulfill their potential and help them run faster, jump higher, get stronger. And we started there. And what we realized is that a lot of the higher tier athletes that we were working with, they played 2, 3 sports. So just from a business standpoint, it just we weren't able to consistently train athletes. So that's when we started to tap into the adult market. And around that same time, that's our first name transition. We went from D1 for Performance Science to the Performance Science Training Institute. And when we were the Performance Science Training Institute, we started to shift a lot more towards adult training and particularly boot camps. And I would say at that point in our evolution, we were focused a lot on the exercise, like high intensity exercise portion of fitness. That was kind of, we got into boot camps, right around the time boot camps were just large group training boot camps were booming, right? It was just kind of the start of that industry. So we kind of rode that wave. And then I would say the third stage of our evolution, there's 3A and 3B. So 3A, we became FitTRAC coaching. And that was about 3 years ago now. And that's when we started to focus not just on the exercise portion, but on the complete picture, like being more habit-based, like developing an exercise habit, develop nutrition habits, developing lifestyle habits, because all those things complement each other to allow people to live a healthy, whole lifestyle, not just try to out-exercise all their other bad habits. So that would be 3A, and then 3B, I would say would be this phase where we've gone virtual. Like, so since the pandemic hit, and how I view FitTRAC now is it's a platform, and it's a platform where we can bring people together through exercise. And as we've seen the pandemic, we could make a difference in the world, and we could do a lot of great things. We bring a lot of great individuals together around a common idea and common values, and the collective is greater than the individuals, right? And it allows me to provide opportunities, right? To provide opportunities for the people, my brothers around me. Allows me to provide opportunities for people to take care of their health, and it also allows us to provide opportunities to people who might not have access to the level of coaching and fitness coaching that we provide, and allow them opportunities to do that. So that's where I think the next stage of where we're going is we have this great platform, and being virtual now allows us to spread this platform, as far as we want to take it. And I'm excited about that.
Darren, when did you come into play? Ken, when did you come into play? Like, how did you guys start to kind of come through into, CJ's vision with this company? Like, when did you guys start to follow suit?
Yeah, so I was classmates with CJ in college. I didn't play football or anything like that, but I did play volleyball, and I've always been an active guy. So when I graduated in 2009, I like to blame the economy and the job market that it was difficult for a philosophy major to find employment. So after some time ruminating over my next move in life, I decided to move back up to the Bay Area with a bit of coaxing from CJ. Moved in with him and became employee number one. I guess he's employee zero. I'll be employee number one to, at the time, D1 Performance Science. So that was in January of 2010. And like CJ mentioned, that was certainly a different time than where we are here today. But over the last, for me, 11 years, I've seen myself in this business grow from us being entrepreneurs is a good term, but back then it was more of just like hustling and grinding and grassroots type campaigning and just really getting dirty with the day-to-day type stuff to help build the business to what it is today. So it's kind of my story in terms of how I became part of the D1 Performance Science, PSTI, and now FitTRAC team.
So by hustling, you mean us putting flyers on people's windshields at the parks, and making lawn signs and putting them everywhere across Menlo Park.
Yeah. There's probably a couple things that we did. Not probably. There were certainly things that we did that, you see now a lot of, tech businesses being put in front of Congress and all this other stuff. We never had to go in front of Congress, but we certainly had the city of San Mateo County, calling us and say, hey, you guys can't just put your signs anywhere you want. Like, there's certain steps. So, as a small business being run literally from our living room, we learned hard and fast that there are certain ways to actually running a legitimate business that didn't include some of the illegitimate things like free advertisements and putting door hangers on people's doors at their houses. And I think it just came with the territory of sort of learning as we did. I remember having company meetings in our living room to writing a business plan that got stashed away in a folder down in our basement, which might actually still be at that house that we started the company from. So there are a lot of things that we did back then with, in retrospect, taught us that a business is not just something that you kind of just throw together, and that there are certain things that go into it that will make it successful, which we learned through a lot of trials and tribulations.
Absolutely. So for me, I obviously CJ's brother, but CJ was working for a smart board company. He was selling smart boards, and I was actually still in school at San Jose State, kinesiology major. So played football there. Was active my whole life as well. And he was tired of selling smart boards. He gave me a call. He's like, hey, I want to start training athletes, because he was coaching football for the Palo Alto Knights as well. So he had 3 kids that he wanted to train. And I would come down from San Jose on the weekends to Palo Alto, and I would help train those athletes. I was still in school, graduated in 2012. So after I got done with school in 2012, I moved in with these 2 guys. And yeah, from there, that's when we started getting everything rolling.
Just came full circle. I know I got 2 brothers, and I know I've gotten those calls too, where you're just like, hey, I'm gonna do this thing right now. You're gonna help me. Okay.
Exactly how it is.
That's kind of how it went. I called up Darren and said, hey, I got this open room at my house. I can't give you much, but we'll have pizza every Sunday.
That was Tuesday.
We'll eat and we'll have a roof overhead. No, it was, at that time, it wasn't round table. We weren't high class at that point. It was New York pizza, and it was a Sunday special. And we would get that like almost every Sunday. But we always had protein on our plate and a roof over our head.
That's it.
It's a good thing we stopped with the weekly pizza, because as these guys know, I had to grow into my role as Coach Darren. And by grow, I actually mean shrink, because I was a little bit shapely before these days here.
So FitTRAC helped you too then?
Oh, certainly, yes. When we say happier, healthier, stronger together, that's including us, because we've also gotten healthier.
Yeah, you 3 are the happier, healthy, stronger. You guys can pick which one you want to be, and then that's awesome. All right, cool. Well, with that, and this is a question for all 3 of you, what is a memory that stands out to you the most from the early days of FitTRAC?
Well, for me, I teased it earlier, is getting sued by Peyton Manning. So our original name was D1 Performance Science, and we didn't actually get sued by Peyton Manning. It was a cease and desist letter, but when you don't know what that is, that feels like getting sued, and you think it's the end of the world. So our name was D1 Performance Science. There is a D1 sports company that is based in somewhere like in the Tennessee area, I think. Peyton Manning went to Tennessee, so Peyton Manning was an investor in the company. I think there's other names on there like Drew Brees. Like it's a pretty big sports performance brand in the middle of the country. I think they had one like Vernon Davis from the 49ers put his name on one in Santa Clara. I don't know if it's still there, but pretty big brand. And so we got this letter. There's a cease and desist. We look up the company and we see Peyton Manning. We're like, oh shit, we're getting sued by Peyton Manning. And so looking back in retrospect, it probably wasn't that big of a deal. But when you're in that stage and you've done all this hustling, you have your signs illegally hung up all throughout the Bay Area. You think like, oh man, this is our brand, like we're losing our brand. But we wound up hiring this lawyer, and Darren, what was his name?
Teddy.
Teddy was our lawyer. And what I remember about that is he used to end his sentences with blase blah. That was like, and I think for a couple of years, me and Darren would go back and forth and end their sentence with blase blah, because he would always say that. And to this day, I still don't really know what that means, but I'll throw it in just to sound sophisticated every now and then.
Love it.
That's definitely a memory that we have, and from that, brainstorming to try to come up with our next company name. And there were some interesting ones in there, for sure. It's hard to remember them, but they were sort of all over the place. It was like just throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck. But one of the memories that I have, staying on topic of going around and flyering and things of that nature, I was actually, creating flyers, little printed out doodads that, I'd go around to different, youth sports leagues and different games around here in the neighborhoods, and actually getting in touch with Erica Mites, who ended up being a pretty big role in terms of she had a pretty big role in terms of our next sort of business stage, because that was our first. She was the owner of Base Roar Elite, which is a gymnastics studio where we had basically control over. So we had worked at Gunn before, but this was like an actual facility, Gunn High School, a facility that we had keys to, and we could go into and run things at different times. So that was sort of a miniature breakthrough for us. And we found her, the Easter's dad was Erica's kid's doctor. So it was kind of sort of like a small world, because I ran into her at a baseball game, gave her a flyer, and said, "Hey, I got this gymnastics studio. You guys could run some sessions there." And so it was a sort of a miniature breakthrough, because that was one of our first main locations here in Redwood City, which eventually evolved to us having our own location, which is adjacent to what was once Base Roar Elite.
One of my fondest memories from early on was the football camp that we ran in, what city was that?
Novato.
Novato. So we were trying to get everywhere. So we connected with a youth football team out in Novato and had them get signups for a football clinic that we were going to run Monday through Friday there. And it was all day. It was from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we committed to it. And we had about 10 signups. And it's hard to do anything football wise with kids from 9 to 3 with just 10 kids. And after about the first 2 days, the numbers started to dwindle. And I was in San Jose at the time still for this. So I was driving about an hour and a half each way. I would pick up then, who was one of our guys, Coach Jose, in San Mateo. And then we would drive across the bridge to Novato, and we would have the kids out there. And we were just trying to find anything to go. We played punt, pass, and kick almost every day. But it was a good time. It just shows how far we've come. We were just trying to hustle back then. We were a lot more efficient over the years, like Darren and CJ have said. We had a lot of trial and error, and we've learned a lot from the things that we've done and tried.
Well, you also have to tell them about it was 100+ degrees and no shade.
And no shade. Yeah. It was rough.
That's why the numbers dwindled.
It was definitely hot out there. And there was no shade on the football field that we were at. And then, we would go out there, drive back, and then we would do the evening sessions, or we'd have our speed clinic still running when we got back from Novato. So it was just an all-day grind that we were on. It hasn't stopped, but it's just come a long way.
Wow, you guys have really been you've really been through the ringer with
Yeah, and when we used to get those flyers that these guys are talking about, we would drive to Berkeley. We would get them printed in Berkeley, and we would get 5,000 flyers printed, because that's for a couple $100s, you could get 5,000 of them. Mind you, we would probably pass out a couple hundred, and then we would put the boxes of all the rest of the flyers like in our basement.
Yeah.
And they stayed in our basement
For years.
until they were
until I moved out.
Yeah.
They were still down there. There's still some down there. So I just moved. I lived at we call it Pine Street. I actually have the street sign from the in my office here.
Oh.
Pine Street, little house in Menlo Park, and I just moved out. It's been about a little less than a year, and so a lot of the stuff we started the company with was still in the basement down there. There were still flyers on the floor when I had to clean it out. Man, there was a lot of junk and a lot of memories down there in that basement.
For the next question, and I guess you guys have kind of been touching on it a little bit and moving into this, is what growth have you all seen in each other in the years that you guys have worked together?
Well, as you know, as a whole, we've definitely come a long way. But individually, for Darren, I think he's had I think I would describe Darren as like smart enough to get by a lot of times, and so like I'm kind of that same way too. And what I mean by that is like we're smart enough that we can wing it at times, and that could be like to good thing when we're in the moments and you have to wing it, but also to our detriment in terms of planning and like preparation, that sort of stuff, right? Darren, would you describe that as somewhat?
Oh yeah, accurate? I mean, come on, we know that.
Yeah. So, I think where I've seen Darren's growth is in that like overcoming the natural tendency to do that, and like his planning, his preparation, his management of himself, and as other people has all come a long way throughout our time working together. And for Kenneth, I would say it's in his leadership. I think Ken tends to be like, I'm just gonna do it myself. I'll do it right. I'll do it the first time. I'll do it myself, right? And like that's the way things had to be like early on the company. We were all kind of that way. We just get the job and do it ourselves, right? But as we've grown, like we needed to bring a team on, and we needed that leadership, and we needed to like lead other people to be able to do some of those things. And I think that's where Ken's come a long way, is just in that leadership, delegating things to other people, and helping other people grow, and like kind of going, again, it's going against that natural tendency to just, when things kind of go off course, to want to just do it himself. Like now he's kind of like helping other people work through problems and getting solutions out of them. So seeing a lot of growth there from him.
Yeah, and actually, both of those same things, I think we've seen in you as well, CJ. Independent guy, as smart as any person that pretty much we've ever met. But now, like you said, having always been an athlete, like knowing that a team is, the best way to get from point A to point B, wherever you want to go. And, always had a visionary outlook on things, but the ability to take a step back, look at things both from a bigger perspective and small perspective, and of course just continued leadership, guiding the ship that we're all part of, as a way to help all of us become more successful, and something that I think as we've had other people working for the business throughout the years, just looking at CJ as sort of a shining example of what it takes to be a leader, because it's not easy. It's not an easy job, and something that we all sort of have looked at him for advice and direction and guidance over the years, and that's something that's proved invaluable in the development of us as individuals and the business.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the main thing that comes to head for all of us is really leadership. With Darren, his leadership is like his organization. I mean, I'm organized, planned out kind of guy. So when, me and Darren would work together, I always be like, come on, like we got it. I would always be on him about being on top of things. But now like he has to manage people as well. So like that has definitely helped him become a lot more organized with everything he does on a day-to-day basis. And then with CJ, just, being at the top of the company, when we first started doing things, it was just like he said, it was just, you know, here's what it is, like let's get it done. We'd figure out how to get it done. And now there's just a lot more like planning and focus to everything that we're doing. And a lot of people ask the question like, what does Coach CJ do? And little do they know like how much he actually does for the company. Just because it's behind the scenes, like doesn't mean that he's not working around the clock like the rest of us. So I mean, it's always been that way. But yeah, just the leadership from everybody has grown so much over the years. We're a lot more efficient. Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing now. And we're still growing. We're still learning.
So for the next question here, just to tell us a little bit more about the Rebecca D. Thomas Brown, about her and just the scholarship and her memory.
Sure. Grandma Becky, for a lot of my childhood years, played a big role in raising me and developing me. I was lucky enough that she actually lived right down the street in Lancaster, where was raised, and so that meant spending a lot of days and nights with her at her apartment complex. I have she's my mother's mom, and she has 5 siblings. So Grandma Becky raised her 6 children, and along with those children, a lot of other kids here in the Bay Area, through her education over in the East Bay. And one of the biggest things that she instilled in me, via directly and then also via my mom, was the importance of education. There's something that I would always, we'd go over to their house and do homework when my mom was still working or my dad was away at work. And she always told us like, hey, education is the one thing that people can't take away from you. You can be taxed and you can get physically injured and all sorts of things like that. But if you have a sound mind and sound education, you're going to do pretty well for yourself. And that's something that has been invaluable to me, something that I want to continue to pass on to one day, hopefully, if I have children and just the community at large. But I think part of that as well is being not only healthy educationally, but physically as well. And so I also remember going to her house and we like to play a lot of video games. And me and my cousins and my brother and sister. And so oftentimes when we were at Grandma Becky's house, she unplugged the TV and said, you guys got to stop playing video games, get outside. And so she kicked us out and lovingly kicked us out of her apartment and onto the little jungle gyms and swimming pool. And actually there was an actual gym at her apartment complex. So I just remember the days where, it was all about education, being in the books and everything like that. But then also times where she was like, get off your butts, get outside and run around and play and be kids and be active. And so just a holistic approach to like making sure that we were as healthy as possible as children. It's something that Grandma Becky always tried to instill upon us. And a lot of her lessons still ring true to this day to me.
And to take the baton from Darren there, how it became the Rebecca D. Thomas Brown Scholarship Fund. It was kind of things came together for us. We were going virtual, social justice momentum was building, and one of the things that I've always kind of had cognitive a little bit of cognitive dissonance about is that just because the demographics of the communities we're in, our business has not been able to serve that many Black people. Like we've Black and Black leadership team. I've had a lot of Black employees throughout the year, but we haven't really been able to help as many of as much as the Black community as we would have liked. And as we've seen with COVID-19, Black people have been disproportionately affected by it because of the obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, the other things that cause COVID to be more fatal, right? So all those things kind of came together, and now that we could, with our virtual training, be able to reach outside of just our nearby community, we decided that we wanted to use our platform to make a difference and start a scholarship fund. And I knew that Darren had not just Grandma Becky, but had many influential Black women in his life, and wanted to give him the opportunity to, do something in her memory and do something for the legacy of his family. Like that's always been something we've done. Like we have the Kenneth Easter blood drive that we do, which is named after our grandma. And so like that's one of the cool things about owning business is that you get to build a legacy, right? And hopefully leave something on this earth that survives longer than we do. So it was just an opportunity. Things kind of came together and gave us opportunity to use our platform for something great and something bigger than us, and then also allow Darren to leave a legacy, do something in his grandma's name. Like Grandma Becky's name has probably been seen more in the past, past couple year or so than it has been in a while, right? Like a lot of people know her story, not know who she is, who didn't before. And like Black history is not just like the famous people, right? Like that's what I think people, there's like a perception of Black people that it's like there's people from the hood and there's the rich and famous people, right? Like that's kind of like the spectrum of the Black experience. So like I think it's important to there's a whole spectrum of Black experience, and I think it's important to recognize that, not just like the extreme endpoints.
What does being a part of a Black-owned business mean to you guys?
It's very important to me personally. Like CJ mentioned, there's a lot of parts of the Black experience that people people just look at contrasting, like you said, the rich and famous and then people in the hood. And for a Black man, having been Black my whole life, every single day is like an opportunity to create Black history. And every day is an opportunity to, be an example of Black achievement and sort of, Black success. And so being a good example, a healthy example in our community, a healthy example to the Black community as well. And, hopefully one day in the future, my own children, and, give them the opportunity to sort of play their part in creating that Black history, that Black excellence. And, it's, it's something where, I always remember my dad telling me, people are always going to see you as a Black man, and my dad was a firefighter, and he said that a lot of times people sort of dehumanized him and just looked at him as just some because he's kind of a big burly dude, just some Black guy, until he put on his firefighter's uniform, and so that kind of humanized him. It was like, oh wow, this is like just like a great example and somebody to look at, other than the fact that he's just a big Black guy. He's a fire captain and somebody that's held to a high regard and a high standard. So for me, using my position here at FitTRAC, and the fact that we're Black owned, to sort of be that example of Black excellence, and not just looked at as hey, there's just some Black guys who are Black men doing great stuff in our communities, for ourselves, for our people, and something that we'll continue to do until the days we die, because we're always gonna be Black, and like I said, every day for us is opportunity to create Black history of our own.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, echoing some of the stuff that Darren said. I mean, I have a young son now, so just him being able to see us, working together, being successful, and yeah, just we're brothers. All three of us are brothers, and just being successful and where we've come from to get here today is important. And then also just our past. We weren't, like, being a Black-owned business wasn't always something that was possible. So having this here today is just huge.
Yeah, and echoing off that, like I think it's legacy is important to me, and I think this is important part of like honoring the legacy of the people that sacrificed before us to allow this opportunity, and just like for us, just looking at my parents, my dad, went to paid his way through Stanford, served in the Navy, so he could. And they paid for his medical school. My mom Kate was the first in her family to come over here from the Philippines. So they sacrificed, they left their families, they hustled and grinded to put us in a position where we could, I know we're fortunate. We were born into some privilege. We were born on second base, right? And that's something I understand and internalize, and like think like every day, like I'm doing injustice to them if I'm not fulfilling the opportunity they provided to us, right? And all the people that sacrificed before them, right, to allow us this opportunity, right? And so that's a big part of what drives me, and it drives me like unfulfilled potential kind of frustrates me, right? So like I know I've been given a lot, and I want to fulfill that, and that's like where at the heart of who I am, even in the, kind of behind the scenes now, I'm still a coach, right? Like it's my job now to coach my team to get the potential out of them, and then it's our coach's job to coach our clients to get the potential out of them, right? So that's still kind of at the core of what we are, and I think also we are an example of, like I said, we were afforded relatively, we were all afforded equal opportunity, right? There's definitely been some, we've all had our experiences as Black men where things have been kind of like we've had moments, frustrating moments, but on a whole, we've been afforded equal opportunity. We've been able to get our education, and I'd see us as an example of when, three Black men are afforded that equal opportunity. Here's what they can do. Here's the story they can create. Here's a legacy they can leave when Black men are afforded equal opportunity, right? And just being able to provide people the full spectrum of the story. So it's not those just endpoints. And when we're given that opportunity, we could do great things as well. I think we covered it all.
That's good. Yeah.
This was fun.